Testing, one, two, three. Testing, one, two, three. All right, Max, I'll give it to you before the Lord's Prayer. Go on. Yes, the Lord's Prayer first. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Thine is the kingdom, the power, glory, yours now and forever. Your Son, our Lord, our Savior, our Shepherd, our King, Jesus Christ. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This is a synopsis. I'm going to be reading something to you. It's important, and then we'll get into why I'm on the air now and what's up. Okay, this is called Peace and Life, and or you could say peace and conflict. Placed trust in Jesus Christ when you are going to God by surrounding my life to you, Lord, so that settles where we'll be spending eternity. My father always said you have to, in order for you, you have to deal with death. You have to learn how to die before you can truly live. And that's what that basically means. You have to be saved and Jesus Christ, accept him as your savior. And that's the first and most important step. We believe that God is in control of all things. Yes. But remember, it's like you're in a classroom though, and you're being tested, okay, on everything you see. So you don't know if those atrocities, which you should be outraged for, and but you don't know how quick and when God pulled those souls. You don't know. Okay. So, but it's not that you shouldn't be outraged. You should be. But remember that there's a higher order here, and the order is separating the wheat from the chaff. Remember, this reality is a test. Do the best you can. He will then pick up the slack. That's what he wants to say. When I did my trip and moved my son from Maryland down to Pensacola, I knew I couldn't do it. I knew I could do most of it, but I knew there was going to be a time where he was going to have to, and he did. And I did things I hadn't done in 20 years. Amazing stuff. Why? He was there. Okay. So you have to put your trust in that, but he wants you to give you everything you have. Trust the Lord to meet all of our needs. God makes promises to those who obey him, and it gets easier each time. If we live with obeying his laws and rules, peace will be your God's gift to us. You will not gnashing of teeth, going around worrying about a lot of things and everything else. That will not be your life. Peace is available to those who believe. Do you have a clear conscience or have one that is gnawing away? Money cannot substitute for the love of God in your life. People and drugs feel better not from going to God, but filling the hole with chemicals that mask the pain of not having the Lord in their life. Can you wait for me to finish this? God made us. We have unique properties and talents. This realization guards against trying to change something over which we have no control over. There was a reason why God gave you the circumstances and the gifts. And as I said, the gifts that you have and the some assembling are required gifts. Okay. Not everything is assembled. Sometimes putting it together is part of that gift. You know, my friends used to always joke because I would spend the entire winter and a lot of money. I'm not kidding, like 500-600 bucks, which was a lot of money back in 19, 69, 70, a lot of money on building. And I used to build my Mokotop airplanes and my model, and all that stuff. I built it from scratch, and they didn't understand because most of the time, and I'm not kidding, I would fly it for all of 5 minutes, and it was harder. It was harder to fly that stupid remote control airplane than it was to get in the plane that we owned and fly that because you didn't. It changed perspective every time when it was coming at you. Then when it was very hard to do. Okay, but I loved doing it. I loved building it, and I loved refining it, and it was all part of the hobby. God has gifted us all differently. We're like snowflakes. Not a single one of us the same. Every single snowflake since the dawn of time, different. Try, be our best, do our best. What does that mean? It means that there's a certain thing that you can do that you have a talent for and a knack that you can do better than anybody. There might be others that can do it also that way. It's very important. The trials are learning, but more, they are the most efficient way to teach. The reason why we're here is an education. Okay. It's the failures in our lives, the struggles that teach us the most. Ask the question, God, what did you intend for me? Remember, it is never too late to act and learn and try. If you're taking breath, you can learn. There's no limit like a computer has where I ran out of memory. How many books can you read? How many movies can you see? How many lectures can you go to? They're all free online, by the way. Oh, yes, you don't get the stupid paper unless you pay. But guess what? You don't have to pay for that stupid paper. The most important thing is having the knowledge. The knowledge is power. When we have a sense of purpose in this life, this protects us from the plague of emptiness. We are God's workmanship. God thought about our creation. God has a purpose for your life. Our prosperity is built up with the personal relationship with Jesus Christ, and then we will meet every need and desires of our heart when we walk in obedience to God. Now, you will meet all your blessings and you'll be richer than you can possibly imagine because there is a ritualist that a lot of rich, really rich people, be it billionaires, these celebrities, they don't get. They don't have that kind of peace. And that's why they die early in a bottle or something else. Jesus will fill your emptiness and give you peace. He will never call you to do something that you are not equipped to do. God desires to equip us for life's challenges. When we have a real belonging to the Lord, He shields us from those who reject us. How valuable are you? Valuable enough for God to sacrifice His Son on the cross for you. Think about that. Think about you doing that. I couldn't do it. Anytime you feel rejected, unwanted, unloved, remember what God has done for you. Surrender your life to Jesus Christ. Let your heart not be troubled, neither let it be afraid. If you want that peace, it's yours for the asking and the surrendering of your life to Him. He is more willing to give it to you freely with love. Pray with me. How grateful we are, Father in heaven, for your patience, willingness to forgive over and over and over again, even when we have the bagel we're not supposed to have. Desiring the best for us, providing the best for us, giving us the guidance for every single decision we make. I pray the Holy Spirit will sink into these truths deep in our hearts and help us recognize either of these truths. We love your grace and are true. We say we love you. We praise you. We bless today. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay. It's amazing. Okay. I I never would have learned the things that I did. I mean, yeah, I mean, I was literally homeless, okay, and living out of my '76 Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme underneath I-95. Why? Because I could stick my feet out without them getting rained on. I needed a job. I needed money. I needed stuff. But I wasn't as worried as you think, even though I was very upset. I had recently lost my father. I It was really a tough time for me. Didn't have to be. My mother did not have to take my money or my regular social security, which I had no idea. I had no idea I was getting $950 a month. But it's kind of good that she did that because then I would have never, learned how to be as good of a pilot that I was. I would never have learned. Well, I learned how to be a good pilot, but I mean, you're flying a lot. Okay, I would never have learned how to weld. Granted, I wouldn't want the first like 5 mastheads I did, but after the first 100, you get good at it. So, um, yeah. And I never would have, if those things didn't happen to me, I never would have been up here to meet my wife. So there it is. Everything happened for a reason. And I am incredibly grateful for those circumstances that at the time were quite disturbing and depressing in a lot of respects. But when you look back at it now, you're like, wow, just like when my first van that I had, it was a G 250, it was G25. It was a Chevy van, white one, like just Explorer, just like one now, but it was gas. And a guy hit me through an intersection at like, I'm not kidding, about 70 miles an hour, totaled the thing out. And but the insurance company paid me so much, it basically cost me almost nothing to drive it for the 10 years that I was driving it. And then I went and purchased our van, which was the perfect year to get it, which was the last year and everything else. And this van has been just incredible, incredible. So it ended up. again being a blessing. Same thing with everything. I mean, I had a horrible fire at my other house. I lost my computer lab and everything else. Would not have Vermont if it wasn't for that fire. Would not have changed my direction of careers and different things. So, things happen and they happen. You don't understand the reason, but if you listen to God, he's there and he knows he's going to teach you something through this. And so there it is. I mean, you have to realize that he is in control, but we are literally in an examining. You're in your finals for that the whole thing. You're sitting in that room and you're taking that test. So yeah, he's proctoring the exam too, and he's watching you, and you can ask him for certain help. Yeah, Jennifer Ward. Uh, I told my friend borrowed it and totaled it with 534,000 miles on that car. And my friend's gas station took the engine and they sold the engine for like I don't know thousand. Somebody wanted it 1,000. It was a blueprinted and balanced engine. That's why I had to. I changed it religiously every 2,500 miles. Um, Fantastic car. Thirsty. Not gonna tell you it wasn't. No, I had modified it. I had not only the one quad, I had two quads. So I had two four-barrel carburetors on it. One would engage mechanically if I pushed down the last inch of the throttle, and it would just open up everything. Yeah, it was. Yeah, if you did that, you're talking about gallons per mile. I once, oh my gosh, I had an office at 1920 North Lincoln Avenue, Chicago. So, um, we had a gig with Allstate and Sears through Profit Planners. That was the guy, and I was setting up a computer system, big one. And these drives were $20,000 a piece. These 8-inch drives, and I had configured two of them mirrors. One was for there, and I had the mirror here. Um, and so I shipped it via UPS, and the UPS put a freaking forklift fork through the box that went right through the drive. Okay, and it took months to get these stupid things, and I was going to lose the whole thing if I didn't get this thing operational that weekend. So I just got off from work and literally picked my wife up and I drove straight all night to get there Saturday morning. It took me about 13 hours. I drove straight. I went through the entire state of Pennsylvania in 3.5 hours. Yeah, with that car. And with a big wrapped in blank drive in the back seat. The drive is huge because I couldn't trust anybody to do it. And yeah, my wife loves Chicago. She had a great time. She's going to the zoo, all kinds of stuff. We were staying in a really fancy hotel. I was working like a dog. And then, I collapsed. I was young. That's what young people, I was in my early 20s. I, uh, I went to sleep. Then Sunday, I took off again, drove, and she drove too. But normally, but yeah, we drove back straight. To which that I had maybe 4 hours of sleep in the car. I shaved, showered. Boom, I'm at Merle and my normal 7 o'clock in the morning on Monday morning. Yeah, back at First United. Yeah, but this is what you do. Okay, So, what are the reasons why okay? I'm going to my house this weekend. That means I'm going to be driving Friday, and that's one thing. Yes, I know about, and I told you. And this is another thing. Did I? Who told you about diesel first? Okay, so I got it covered. My van can run on peanut oil. Okay, the only problem is I have to cut it 50-50. I go in on a straight south where I know it's going to be, if I wake up in the morning, it's going to be over 65 degrees, something like that. But the engine will have a hard time starting just on pure peanut oil. Other than that, it'll run fine. But I'll mix it. So I'm going to be fine. Okay. Others, no. The trucks are going to stop. The trains are going to stop. And as I showed you in that wonderful picture, and nobody seems to identify this, so I'm going to show you again, and I'll show you the difference. See, this is a picture. Okay, look at that ear. Okay, look, see the shadow. See the cartilage. Okay, see that ear. Okay. Very important. Now look at the forehead. Look at the same ear. Oh, no, look, it's connected. Yeah. Uh huh. I don't know who that is. Okay. I know who they saying it is, but I have never met that person. The other one I met 2010. Okay. I wasn't a big fan of him. In 2010, he was self-deprecating. He was funny. He did a great job to those mids. He shook every one of their hands. Okay. He was cordial. He was great to us, and he told us parents, "We know they wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you," and it was great. And I can't take that away from him. I don't agree with the politics, but he did a great job that day. So yeah, that's the truth. And I said, "Wow, if," I even said this, I said, "if Obama was that way and self-deprecating and made fun of himself, like the way Biden did that day, it's amazing. Um, I would have a lot more respect." Now everybody's like on me because I said that we're in war. We are. We're in really, really bad shape today. Okay. What's really, really bad is that this administration is holding back things that were already approved by both houses of Congress and signed for to send to Taiwan, and they're not doing it. They're not doing it. He's afraid of Xi Jinping. Is he afraid of Xi Jinping? Is he taking his orders? If you look at what this administration has been doing from day one, it all favors tremendously China, big time. Okay, to which they're setting up and own huge amounts of land and police stations and stuff like that in this country. Do I think that any foreign entity, nation, and or person, foreigner, should be able to own property in this United States of America? No. They can lease it. They can't own it. They can rent it. They can't own it. Um, I think that you have to have a commitment to this country and be a United States citizen, be a corporation based in this country, period. And I think that that should be an amendment to the Constitution. I really do. Now, everybody is complaining about um, this whole agenda where they're willing to pay people, but only if you're black. If you're white, no. Different types. I mean, that is a violation of the 14th Amendment. Okay, the 14th Amendment basically states if you're paisley, purple, pink, whatever color, basically sex, create whatever you are, you have the same exact rights. That means opportunities as anybody, and they can't discriminate against you. That works in all ways. Right now, it's okay to do that against people of this type of Caucasian, which is wrong. Okay. It was wrong in 1965 to do it to a person of this persuasion, and it's wrong to do it now. Didn't make it right over time. It's ridiculous. We have a joint thing, what made this country. We are all citizens of this great nation. We got to the moon first because of our diversity, because we were coming to the table. And I know this for a fact because I was there with huge arguments and out of the box thinking. You don't have that in Japan. You don't have that in China. You don't have that in Germany. You don't, any of these cultures you look at, they're very close knit. People are brought up with the same kind of heritage and the same kind of things. They don't think the same way. And that does not do well when you are presented with a problem where you have to innovate a new, totally out of the box idea. In order to do that, you have to be open to discussion, open to new ideas. You don't know everything. And if you have a way of doing something and you think that's right, as I do, I have lots of ideas and lots of things that I know. If you think that I'm wrong, that's absolutely your right to think I'm wrong. And I encourage you to discuss it with me directly if you want. You draw me a picture, you get my number, I can arrange a time. You call me up on here, you can remain anonymous and you can discuss it and formulate. And you ready for this? You might change my opinion on something. Who knows? I'm not going to say not. I'm open minded. That's what my father taught me. That's what my experience in life taught me because I used to be the most arrogant, stubborn SOB you ever met. Yes, we really went to the moon. Okay. And you could be sure that that happened. We absolutely did. What they are lying about is what they found. What they're lying about is why. Okay. But we have a proof of it every single day on the hour. The University of Maryland specifically, and other universities too. It works for anybody, including if you're in Mother Russia and you want to shoot a laser beam at that target that Neil Armstrong put on the moon. It'll come back exactly to you. It's a very ingenious thing. But yes, and I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen, um, yeah, I can't. You can't see detail, but you can see enough to where you can see the meta reflection of the bottom part of the enlightenment. You could definitely see the tracks of the cart that Alan Shepard was dragging around in Apollo 14, and of course you can see the the tracks from the rover and everything. You can see that, so you can definitely see that something has happened there, and you can see the laser beam come back from that area that Neil put that thing down. Yeah, it measures the exactly what's going on with the moon. That's another reason why I know that moon was put where it is for a reason, and it was done by the guy running this train. How do I know it? It's not wobbling. Okay, it's not. It's not doing. What I mean by it's not rocking back and forth. Yes, it moves this way and this way, but it's something else. It doesn't go back and forth like this. It doesn't. No, It's like a man. It's unbelievable, and it rings like a bell. Okay, and it rang for hours. I mean, this thing, yeah, it's hollow. So, you know, and I can tell you that life would be not good here on this planet Earth without it. You would not have tides. All these things stabilize the Earth. Okay, they make its wobble less. Okay, so yeah, it would really happen. And I'm working on a book. It's called One Summer, and it's my life as a kid. Basically, the son of a person who was doing top secret work for the government and NASA, and he made and invented, really co-invented, but really we were producing it, the multi-layer circuit boards for the computers that got us to the moon. And hold on a second, I will prove that to you. You're like, come on, Bob. Come on, come on. Yeah, my father's name is on the moon. It's my name too. So this is my father. My son is flying with his wings, and this is his name. Yep, this was carried and it's on the moon. That's his signature. We're very proud of that. And part of my son's winging, when my son was winged, they read the entire. Hold on a second. I have a picture of that. Uh, my, it's my son's first salute at the Naval Academy. When he was winged, it's here someplace. At any rate, this is him down in Pensacola getting his own flight instruction. Okay. At any rate, in those early years, I'll show you some more. The fact that I used to be 477 pounds, people. Yep, that was me. So, yeah, that's my son on his wedding day. Anyway, and my two boys right there. Okay, enough. Let's go back to the show. Okay, so, yeah, so I was there and I saw all that stuff and I was a part of it. I wrote the first CAD CAM program. That's a basically enables a machine to work for you and drill these boards, which they had to be drilled down to a thousandth of an inch. Okay, and there was a way of programming all those coordinates on the board. Okay, without typing them in. And all the robots today work that way. All of them. Every single car that's made are instructed by human beings on how to do the weld, how to do these. All of them. They have a master assembler, a master person there, and they pay everything. It's all done by that same gut software. No difference. I'm proud of that, but I never got. Well, I got paid for an experience and the memories, and we were all doing things that anything, because we knew how important it was, and it was. And we also knew that lives were at stake, and they were. The computers, the five computers that were on the Apollo 11 spacecraft, any of the Apollo 7 5 rockets, were life critical. Okay. There were things and calculations and stuff that had to be done that could not be done, okay, without those computers. Yeah. There was literally one AG5 computer just to run the Saturn V rocket. That's the ignition sequence, not the whole thing. Okay. Yeah. So there were two of them in the lunar module, I should say one and a half. But there was a computer that was never used ever, and that was the abort computer. The abort computer was an entire standby computer system, which was monitoring everything. Which, when you if you push that button, boom, it would throw out the other thing and automatically abort the landing and go. They thought that they were going to have to use it. They really did. They were like, we think we're gonna 50-50. We're gonna have to use it. And they planned it that way. We never used it. We did use the lunar module, that whole spacecraft, as a lifeboat, and that was not planned. That was ad lib right on the spot. It was always thought that it could be used as some kind of thing, but they never, ever, ever figured on so many systems and the command module being taken out. To which that the only thing that was left was the landing batteries. There was nothing left. They never anticipated that. Okay, so I suggest you look at the Apollo 13 movie. It's a very good one. Um, but yes, and we have proof of this. And I met Captain Lovell. He was a good friend of my father. Alan Shepard is another lunatic who, another great friend of my father. These two captains, all these Navy guys, including my old man. I would say my, I would say my son. He's done some, but you see, I know my son, so I know he calculated it all. So, but I'm not going to tell you he hasn't done some insanely dangerous flying because I would. No, he has, and he saved lives doing it. But um, yeah, very, very brave men. All naval aviators have a cut above because they often have to deal with things that are just out of the envelope. Yes, we did go to them. And again, now what did now what did they see? Okay. Aliens looking at them do this. Now, what were those grays? Were they people from the future? I don't know. Were they from another that neighbor Alpha Centauri thing? I don't know. They know. I don't know. Did they find the glass beads from the last micronova event? Absolutely. Then they were then able to find it all over the planet? They were. It confirmed Chan Thomas's thing? Yes, did. Yep. Did the moon rocks tell the origin of the moon? Yes and no. I mean, maybe like a one in a trillion event, if that. So, not really. No. Moon is definitely made from Earth stuff. But how it got there in a way that saying this planet, a planet the size of Mars, had hit us in a specific way and exactly. I mean, it's ridiculous. I don't see it. But these are the people who don't believe in God. But then, the more you learn about science, the more you learn about the deepness. Like I said last time, Everything is numbered. Who does that? Okay. Yeah. Everything. Every little tetrahedron has a specific quantum number on it. That's what it comes down to. These little tetrahedrons, Planck constant, this way, that way, that. Yeah. We'll just consider, even electron have a number on them. Okay. Unique. So God definitely wants to keep track of everything. Okay. But we definitely went there. So Jennifer, yes. Okay. So any more questions before I get into the rest of my reason why I'm here? Okay. So there everybody says it's going to be, and I've checked with my friends across the country, and there are a few of the zealot, I called the zealot holdouts. Okay. And that's about 34%. Rest of everybody. Now, the Democrats don't, they, if you look at the other channels, they're not this fear. Okay. As a matter of fact, did you see Biden yesterday? He specifically is attacking people of the Trump persuasion. Basically, he's attacking people who think and have a different opinion. And he's saying, the election will not be denied. Why is he saying this if you and I and everybody sees that it's going to be such a landslide unless the same freaking thing is going to happen at 3:30 in the morning, to which that's going to raise our ilk. I don't know. I can't say that for sure. But I can say that that was definitely not a coachly planned speech. I mean, whoever wrote it. So they're definitely trying to put something. Yeah. So, yeah. So, um, does it mean, no, it means if everybody, wheelchair, get them into whatever you have to do, get these people down to the place and vote. Okay, vote, 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 vote. We've seen that it makes it harder for them. Well, let me tell you, make it really hard. Make them use all 5 million of these illegals that they brought in, and then some. I know they're going to use at least 1.5 million in New York State. So, and nobody in their right mind in New York State would vote for a person who even denies and says it's the system that killed this lady, not my policies, when it's her policies. Oh my God. Did you see that? Man, I'm telling you, people, it's bad here in New York. It's really bad. There is no law. Oh, but there's law for Pelosi. Yeah. Cops got there in 2 minutes. Yeah. I think you're going to find out that that person was having a different type of close encounter with her husband. And they had some kind of disagreement. Enough said on that one. But I want to see the body cam footage because this attack happened on their body cam, according to their story. There's also all those 4K cameras. Where did that footage go? We still haven't seen the footage of his arrest, his DWI. We haven't seen that. How come he's special? He's just special. Yeah. Any questions? Do we have any questions? I know I'm on at a weird time. I know you guys didn't. I got a socket and I was said, well, I'll do it now. And I'm not going to be here for tomorrow. and I look forward to that. I haven't been up in Vermont in a long time. I just had a new exhaust. I found a new shop here. I'm thrilled. The Mighty Key. Yes, I'm advertising for them. Through the fact that they're great. Mighty Key on 347 Wisconsin Highway on Long Island. Dean and Ed, fantastic. Take pride in their work. Dean said he's never seen a 7.3 ever like mine, and he did stuff, and he put this 4-inch exhaust in, straight pipe down with a glass pack. Oh, it's awesome. Yes, the van is a little louder. I'm not gonna tell you it isn't, but I'm getting EGTs like I don't know, 300, 400 degrees colder, and I'm getting more air, more power. I mean, wow. So I look forward to getting, better mileage. And it's just gonna be better for the engine and for everything. Is you know, clean, really clean exhaust. I revved my car up today. It was no blacks, nothing. It was amazing. It's amazing, and it's because it's all a big 4-inch pipe. You know, amazing when you let the engine breathe. You know, and I waited till that my my exhaust system was 20 years old. The muffler was uh yeah, it had a hole in it about the size of a quarter. A little rust hole. And when we were sitting in rush hour traffic, you'd start to smell fumes, which is not good because it's before the axle the way that muffler is. So I had to. So I'm gonna get a new exhaust system. It's gonna be bigger, better, and I don't have to worry about it for another, I don't know, 15 years maybe. It's definitely not gonna be. I mean, it's fine. It cost me $400, so I'm happy. Very happy, and I found somebody who's willing to not only that, work on my car and takes pride. Ugh, and they're less expensive than my other shop here. I mean, almost half the price. So I'm thrilled. God works in mysterious ways. The shop that I took it to the Firestone place, they didn't want to work on it, so they kind of forced me to this place, and then meet these two guys. They're into the same thing. This guy's a welder like I am. It's just great. Yeah. So if you're ever on Long Island, you work done on your car. Doesn't matter what it is. These guys are good. Okay. And one's a diesel mechanic, and right there. Okay. And he even says the first diesel he's ever worked on where he didn't walk in with grease and stuff and oil all over him. Couldn't believe how clean the motor is. He says, usually I see these things, they're leaking like crazy. So yeah, I'm very happy about that. So yep, very, very happy. See, God takes care of that. And I'm gonna be going down to Florida soon. And my wife, she has I'll show it to you sometime. She has an actual, I mean a real Italian uh, you know, commercial ice cream maker. Okay, real one. I mean, her ice cream is insane. It's better than anything. It's better. Uh, Briars tastes like chalk compared to her ice cream. Anyway, so my grandson requested his flavors, and in my van has so much power. I have a refrigerator freezer, plus I can support an entire other freezer, an, an actual freezer, an additional one. And so we're going to be loading that up. It runs a 24/7, keeps that freezer at -6 degrees. So yeah. Plus, my sons are getting our patented sauce. We made a bunch, and we still didn't do a bean run. We have to do beans, and I promise my Patreon people, you will be getting when I do make that run. The whole first batch is going to be to my Patreon people. Okay? So, yeah, you'll be tasting the 1845 ball baked beans. So that's a family passed down. It's really good. I'm just the keeper of the. I think my aunt Brenda has a recipe of it too, but my wife and I, we developed a procedure using our modern equipment to do it, which makes it a lot easier. I think I'll videotape the whole thing, and I'll do it with the stabilization thing because I watched my footage and was shaky and stuff. So you can't rely on the iPhone to do a good job. You really have to put it into one of those stabilization things. Okay, so that's. I hope and pray that the elections come out with this red wave, but I'm not counting on it because our elections here in New York have not changed. There's mailboxes, there's drop offs, there's harvesting, there's all kinds of shenanigans. Yeah, it's, you know, I don't know how your state is, people, but my state is not even, this is the color. Yeah, it's just, it's, sh- I mean, I come from a Democratic family, believe it or not. I mean, like I said, I had relatives in the Kennedy administration. My uncle was a Democratic senator from Minnesota for 21 years, United States senator. Both of those people, okay. George was the admiral, and George Ball. Um, yeah, those, and even JFK, he'd be considered a right winger today. Just, just, just telling you. Okay, they were vehemently anti all this stuff. Okay, you know, don't ask about what your country can do for you, but what you could do for your country was their motif. And he was just another lunatic, crazy Navy guy. Okay, instead of aluminum, he thought that plywood was his armor. Another crazy lunatic, 60 miles an hour in this plywood boat on the water going up against battleship and destroyers. I mean, what else do you think is going to happen to you? It's just incredible brave people. I mean, you have no idea of the insanity. I mean, just thinking about that. I mean, it's wow. And yeah, he did it without his father's approval. His father did not want him to do that. So, yeah. But Blake looks like I mean, she looks like $1,000,000 every time. I mean, it's amazing. She must have a whole team of professional people, make sure the lighting, everything. She looks like $1,000,000 every time she goes on the air. And why shouldn't you look like that every time you go on the air? The best you can be, very professional. Wow. It just totally reminds me of my wife. And again, please pray for my wife. You know, she's having some lingering effects from the COVID. They're not life endangering, but they are harassment. So thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. And also pray for Rick and his wife. Really pray for this nation. Pray that somehow, you know, things come out differently because it can change like that overnight. It can change fast. And it doesn't have to be the way it is right now. It does not have to be that way. And justice needs to come. That's the big thing to this country. Everybody gets equal justice, and that's not what we have. The Foxtrot Bravo Indiana has run amok. The Charlie Indiana Alpha has run amok. I mean, all these 17 three-letter alphabet agencies. Yeah. So that needs to be curtailed big time and basically topsy-turvied. So I'm not saying there's not good people. There are. There's good people, but not at the top floor, right? And what's been called my good friend Good Faith was telling me I need to talk about other subjects. I talk about reality. Okay. So yes, I mean we're getting the other reason why I'm going up this weekend going to be a fantastic aurora borealis from the two electromagnetic storms that occur from both the solar wind and from this filament that's released from the sun. No, they're nothing to worry about, but they are going to cause geo electrical storm, and they probably reach up to KP6, maybe even KP8 on the scale that they measured, which means incredible greens and purples that you see in the sky. It's really magical. I wish I could photograph it, but I might try with my Canon, but it never really comes out. It's really what you're looking at is it's kind of like you're inside a neon bulb. It's the same kind of thing that happens with neon. The electrons ionize the gas and it changes the electron drops to the from the excited state to the ground state, produces light. So it's really amazing. Any questions? Any questions? Anything? Oh, somebody was asking me on my Patreon page. They specifically were asking me about this EMP shield. Okay. Yeah, I looked into it. No, you cannot have a device that hooks up to the ground of the car, the negative and the plus terminal, and sticks on with two-sided tape, and it's going to shield the car from basically an 80 Tesla event. You know, they test. Yes, do they test it? They test it with neon transformer. That's like a neon sign transformer powered Tesla coils. Not the same thing, folks. No, a real EMP, a real CME Carrington event. It'll be like being point blank. Those chips will be like being point blank to a 45,000 volt spark, and they will be fried when an inch of their life. If you have even more than a 1 foot wire, which you do in your harnesses in your cars, you have more than that. That will be big as big. And how it will work, the electromagnetic field is so strong, okay, that it's like taking a straw, plastic straw, with little BBs, metal BBs in it, and the magnetic field is like pinching one end of the straw and moving along it like this. And those BBs are electrons, and it's pushing them through the wire. Yeah, but it's fast. Okay, so that is tremendous amount of current and voltage. It just fries crap up. So if you don't actively have in those wire paths capacitors, sacrificial Xenia diodes, which are diodes. A diode basically works like this. It's really a very simple device. Picture the point of the diode like an electrode tip, and it's connected to a plate as a tip. Well, it's very difficult. Okay, it's easy for the electrons to flow this way. Okay, onto this plate, but it's very difficult for stuff from this plate to flow through that point. It essentially blocks. That's how a diode really works. Okay. Um, and it doesn't block everything, but what it does is it reduces. It makes it difficult. And further, if you put a gap, a tiny, it makes it impossible. Okay. So the current can't go back. It can only go one way. Um, and by doing that, you can control a circuit and you can prevent these components which are sensitive to these over voltages. What's on over 5 volts is an over voltage. Yeah. All those sensors, the oxygen sensors, the other things that are in your car and everything else, the map sensor, the air mass indicator, they all run on 5 volts, and that's a reference. That's the top voltage. Okay, and yes, they have wires that are 10, 15 feet to the CPU, and there's multiple chips that are handling these signals. So that's the problem. Okay, and you can't use the car as an EMP, a Faraday cage, because it has windows. You will notice on your microwave oven, your window is not a window. There's a metal screen behind the glass of that window in your microwave oven. That is part of the Faraday cage. Yes, it's working the other way, but it can work. Faraday cages work both ways. They prevent electromagnetism from penetrating them. That's what they do. Can't do it that way. Okay. You have to go through a lot of trouble to, and it can, and yeah, I'll explain to you. There's only a few aircraft in the United States Navy, okay, that are hardened. There's only 5 aircraft that are hardened in the Air Force, okay? And I've seen these aircraft, and every single panel, every single piece is separately strapped and grounded. The wires in there are no longer than 1 foot before they go into a node, which turns it into an optical signal on an optical cable. They even have special shunt circuits for the power. It's really expensive and it's insane. Okay. And a little $400 box, which costs maybe $30 in components of that, is not going to do it. Okay. I don't know how they get away with saying that they can do it because they know that if this event happens, nobody's going to come knocking at the door and say, "Give me my money back." It's not going to be that kind of event. How to Nixel call the new with no interruptions? Uh, yeah, right. Because there's satellites throughout the world that we're using for the United States moon mission. There were satellites and antennas already in orbit, and then there were antennas on the ground in all the continents except for Mother, you know what. But it doesn't matter because if you look at the picture, you'll see that Australia was was pointed at the moon. So, and there was a delay in the conversation because it takes a second and a half for light to get to the moon and another second and a half for it to get back. So those radio signals were traveling at speed of light. So the round trip was 3 seconds, and you can hear that. That's why those guys basically said silent, and Nixon read his sheet. Okay. But yeah, even if you looked at the other conversations that they were having, there was a beep, and the beep was that's the end of their talk. And you would hear there was even when they were controlling the camera on the rover, as it was controlled from the ground, they had to get used to that delay. Okay. And on the first time they tried to shoot the takeoff, they were behind it, but they got better at it. By this Apollo 17, they got it really good. They were really right on top of it. I'm really kind of bummed that they didn't, you know, put a solar panel on or something like that, to which they could have, used it after the battery died. But you know, it's weight. I mean, they didn't even leave the cameras. They didn't take the those Hasselback cameras, those 500 SLs. Okay, those cameras, they're like really expensive. Put Hasselback, those big in Switzerland on the map, but they are the best cameras. Those cameras were all left on the moon, every single one of them. All they took was the film magazines. Yeah. True thing is, one of them, um, Neil Armstrong dropped, and he even wrote on the bag. But when the guy was tired or something and was doing it, the technician, he got moonsaw all over him, and he had to be put into quarantine. True story. Yep. And those cameras all worked without a sighting system, without looking through the thing. They rigged up a whole thing. They were basically wearing this camera on their chest, and they learned how to do this. They were practicing. That's what all these conspiracy theories about not going to the moon and seeing these letters and stuff. Those letters that you see in these things where they show you and post that, oh, this letter, how could it be on this rock? It's not on the thing right next to the film. There was engraved with fluorine gas these sharp marks that were on this plate. Okay, and it was a reference marks, a grid, and then each camera had a specific letter and number again inscribed, and it wouldn't make this huge a notation. It would just distort a little piece of the bottom of the photo plate where you could see the C and 39 something, whatever the camera was. Okay, each camera was assigned to that specific astronaut for that specific mission, and then again they were left on. They were left there. They they threw them out. They threw out every single thing they could to take in these 700 pounds of rocks. So that's where all this conspiracy stuff goes. And then all these NASA footages on practicing on Earth. What were they? They were practicing their entire mission. Photographing these things, doing these experiments. The person who had the most photography really on Apollo 11, I think there was only two photographs of Neil Armstrong, was Buzz Aldrin. He was running around like a rabbit getting all these stuffs done. Neil was the one that was photographing it. So anytime you see Apollo 11 shots of an astronaut, that's Buzz Aldrin. It's not Neil Armstrong. Oh, am I still transmitting? Can you guys see me? I lost my connection from my iPad. See, I what I do with my iPad is I go to a cellular connection so that I'm assured that you know I'm seeing what you guys see. You know, so yes, you know, and I was there. I was there for the launch. I was there for the rollout. It was insane. It was absolutely unbelievable. My father put his hand behind my neck and says, "Watch this." I, they opened up the left side of the assembly building, and the entire Apollo 11 and the launch pad and the gantry, everything was sitting on top of this crawler, which was composed of 12 diesel engines. And God, each little slot was 150 tons. Okay. And there were rocks about that big that when this thing after it rolled over them, it was powder, like talcum powder. Unbelievable. And then you ready? Then they opened up the other one, and there was Apollo 12 all completed, ready to go. Both of them were in this building. The building is so large. They have rain in the building. It's yeah. And then when I went there with the old man, and I'm looking at this thing, each one of these F1 engines is the size of my entire living room. That's one, and there's five of them. Wee! And those guys are getting on top of this thing. They're getting on top of a thing that's going to go through a swimming pool of kerosene, 20 by 40 swimming pool, in less than a minute. Wow. Okay. They were on a small nuclear bomb. Yeah. Incredibly brave men. And anytime these people you pass these things, oh no, they didn't do it. They did do it, and they were that brave. And guess what? We didn't have the technology to fake it. Okay. Yeah. In order to fake weightlessness of one-sixth the gravity of the moon and everything else, you have to overclock film and do slow motion. Okay. I had my DP, a really film buddy who's a left wing lunatic, but he knows more about film than maybe even Stanley Kubrick. And he went through this whole thing, and he said, "Guess what? They couldn't fake it. Couldn't do it. We did. We had the technology to do this insanely and go to the moon, but we didn't have the technology to fake it." And that's true. And versus today, we don't seem to have the technology and the skills to make an F1 engine, which we don't. But we have the ability to fake it real easy. Yeah. But yeah, no. In order to establish a permanent moon base, we need to have molten salt reactors and we need to have photon computers. Gotta have them both. You have to have a stable source of power when the sun is down for 2.5 weeks straight. That's number one. Number two, you have to have a photon computer because the sun is constantly having solar flares and everything else. It'll fry your stuff up. So you can't use conventional computers today. You must use a photon computer, which will not be affected. Was it invented already? Yep, it was invented in 1987. Was the same photon computer that I'm building invented? No. I'm modifying the original patent by adding teleportation. Okay, teleportation, that means and entanglements in the photons. And mine's not going to be a four color computer, it's going to be 16 color. It's all digital. Each register can have 16 values. Okay, so yes. And you can go to, let's see, there are um, planetariums that have powerful enough telescopes where you can see what I'm seeing um, with your own eye. And if you think that the world is flat, you can actually see the International Space Station go overhead by watching the YouTube thing and figure out when it's going to go over your house. And this is the perfect time when the sun just goes down because it goes down here for us on the ground, but it's still in full radiance. So you'll see a bright, bright International Space Station go right over your house. And yes, nobody's hanging it with a string or nothing. Yes, the earth is round. I've seen the curvature of the earth. I've seen the curvature of the earth on my sailboat. I've seen islands come right out of the water. Did they come out of the water? No. I'm going on the earth. Okay. So that's how it works. And I've gone up enough to where I can see. Now, what was I astonished, as I said before, how thin the atmosphere is. It's not like the skin of an onion. It's more like this. I mean, it's not like the skin of an orange. It's the skin of an onion. Very thin, very thin. Imagine how dainty it is. So yes, I am not for burning oil. I'm not for burning coal. I'm not for any of those things. We should have been getting off it since '73. Okay, because it does pollute the air. It does pollute the water. That's all. Right now, we have no alternative because we did not develop room temperature superconductivity, which is what you need. You can't put the cart before the horse. You must develop that technology first. And we know this because when we were going to the moon, we had to develop fuel cells in order to power all that equipment, life support equipment, everything else. And then as a bypass product, it produced water for them to make food with and drink. Had to have it. Any other questions? Okay, so the EMP shield, and I put a challenge out to them. I said, prove it to me. And yeah, they say military, anybody can say military. Anybody can say mil spec components. That just means the component. They could just have a resistor in there that's 1% tolerant. That's military spec. Doesn't mean the military using it. No, they're not because it no won't work. Nope. Oh, the military would love it if it worked. They spent a lot more than that hardening up their stuff. And yes, the military have hardened computers. They have hardened laptops. They have hardened stuff. And I'll tell you right now, there are some radar dishes, microwave antenna. We're talking about digital phase arrays that are really F you up bad and really do a number on any commercial, which is computers and stuff. It'll, yeah, fry them. Just the EM technology that we have. We're not even talking about a specific nuclear EMP or a specific, which is burst at say, 100,000 feet or 60,000 feet above a specific city, or a CME the size of 100,000 Earths. Can you just imagine that? How can you possibly think a little box this big can protect your everything with no, no. I don't even think, yeah, no. Okay, so to answer to that other question, no. So I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. I guess I'll be bringing this show to a close. I hope I'm very, very happy for you guys who turned up, and thank you for your blessings. And I pray that God has His hand on your everything and keeps you safe. And you guys have a blessed weekend. And you vote. Get out and vote. Do it. And yeah, I'll have it's a very easy drive. My house. I'm there. I might do a live broadcast from up there. Depends. Uh, I'm probably, my wife loves to go to the stupid toys in the attic. It's run by the church up there. It's a, little, they bring knickknacks and things. We got some really pretty neat stuff from that. Uh, I love this old, I love it. I love old, I love old, like this Apple core and peel. I love stuff like that. I just, it's so elegant. And it's manual. I love that. Easy to clean. I just love stuff like that. So yeah, Johnny Genlock, you don't have to worry about it. A believe it or not, a photo a panel, LED, a solar panel is an LED. If you run the voltage the opposite way, you'll see you have a very inefficient light emitting diode. It's a diode. Okay. So being a diode, you cannot have a problem with it. What is the problem? Oh, that huge length of wires to your inverters. That's the problem. Okay. So how can you protect that? Very simple. There is shunt controls on your inverters. So there's ways to break that circuit. You can cut the solar panels off from the inverter, and you can also cut the AC power, which the inverters monitor to do what's called a synchronization. They synchronize that power with the power that you have so that the power can flow both ways. Okay. And cut that all off. Okay. You should have that built into the system by law. You have to have it. You have to have a on the bottom or the top, wherever the leads go into your inverter, there'll be a dial, a lever, something that just shut that off. You'll have 10 hours notice, and then same thing for the power of the. It'll say cogen, something like that. Shut that off. Disconnect that, and that will isolate. Okay, so the wires won't have anywhere to go. Your panels will be fine because they're just a diode. They're not, not a circuit. Okay, there's nothing in them. There's no battery. I mean, it's solar panel managed. No, it doesn't. No, so that'll be fine. Okay, that's how you do that. And will that? Yeah, and can you protect the gen? I protected my generator. How? Well, it's an aluminum housing, and I have two grounding rods at each side of it. And that housing does make an EMP shield. Okay. The housing, they said it's got no windows. It's all aluminum. Okay. And it's sitting on a metal tray. So it's 100% shielded. And frankly, what's in it is very simple. Okay. It's a Honda GX 950 engine. Um, what's wrong with it? Nothing's really wrong with it. It's just got 12,500 hours on it, which is like 7,000 more than it's supposed to have before it's overhauled. So, yeah, what am I doing? I have to go get the other one that I bought, and then I'm going to put the other one in place. I'm going to pull this one out, and then I'm going to overhaul this one, and then put it on the side of my yard, and have it. And then, unlike where you might live, where your power is stable, every single time we get a storm, any storm, thunderstorm, ice storm, you name it, we lose power. Not to mention hurricanes. I mean, Irene, I was out of power for 8 weeks. No, 9 weeks, really. And I was providing power for like my house next door, uh, driveway at a charging station. My wife is making ice like crazy. People, I think I sold whole house generators more than anybody did because I had a whole bunch of guys there going, oh, look, looking at my generator. Runs on natural gas, um, you know. But even then, they were saying, like on Sandy, they were going to cut the natural gas. So that's when I got the diesel one. Also, I bought the diesel for my photon computer project. So I have standby diesel, which is 150,000 watts, and I have 67 gallons in that, plus another 80-gallon fuel tank for just that. Okay, um, and that's yeah. So and that's all mechanical. It has mechanical fuel pump, has a Tesla pancake coil. It's all yeah. It's again EMP proofed because those components you can't do anything to them. So No digital, nothing on it. It's all manual. Okay, so you don't have to worry about that. And you should take pictures of it. Take pictures of the circuit breakers for the before the inverters, for the solar panel. You should take pictures of all that. Write it down, laminate it, put it up as an instruction someplace. What to do? Okay, you should have a what to do list. So my son has the new Tesla Powerwall thing. Yeah. So, but the most vulnerable part, like I said again, is the inverter. Now they're in metal boxes too. So if you do cut them off, that box is grounded. You won't have a problem. But you have to cut it off. Okay, it's very important to cut it off, to not leave it attached to any wiring that goes into any of the circuits. And you have those switches there. They have them there, believe it or not, for fire purposes. It's a law. A fire department has to be able to go to the outside of your dwelling and turn these things off so that they can spray water in your house without getting electrocuted. It's important. All right. So we did an hour and a half basically, and so I enjoyed this and enjoyed spending my time with you guys. And like I said, I hope to do something up there. I haven't been up there in a long time, so the days are very short up there this time of the year. It's getting to be the shortest day, but especially up there. Okay, um, because the mountains block the sun, so the sun goes down on a deeper angle, and the mountain blocks it. So anyway, God bless. I hope you guys are well. Oh wait, I got a lot of bones. Max, come. He's got to do his howling. Come on, Max. Ooh, ooh, ooh. He's feeling a little under the weather from your vaccination. Ooh, ooh. Get a vaccination today so you can go back to the dog park. Great. Yeah, he had a shot today. So now when I get back, he can start visiting the dog. There's a very bad canine virus that went and all the dog parks, at least up here. I don't know the rest of the country, but very, people, dogs have died. Okay, so yeah, very bad. So you want another one? Okay. All right, guys, you be good. God bless. Remember, accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior. Confess your sins. And remember, He died for you. He shed His blood for you. You're cleansed. Get with a good Bible based church. Open your Bible. Read John first. John. Then Matthew. If you haven't read it, read Matthew. After that, then any place you want. Okay. God bless.